back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
And this is going to be just a short little intro here. We've just gotten back from a fun time at Wondercon Anaheim.
Wondercon!
We got a few things to report on, and the thing number one that I think we might have talked about in our last episode, but it's still kind of bugging me, no presence from HBO, really, at all.
No,
I mean, even in the exhibit hall, they didn't have any booth set up. There was nothing going on. There were no panels, no previews. And I can understand steering clear of Game of Thrones, your biggest property, but with still a year before there's any new content. But Westworld? I mean, Westworld starts, what, in 3 weeks?
Right.
Something like that?
Mm-hmm.
So that's disappointing, I gotta say.
Also interesting.
Maybe they're hiding something. Is that what you think?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just recording this real quick on the fly, not quite our usual setup, but we did just want to say what you're about to hear, and then we'll steer into that. And that, I don't actually know yet what it's going to sound like, but I did my best to capture all the sound from a panel on
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. So we saw a panel on that, unlike the one at San Diego Comic-Con where they brought Steven Spielberg out. He was not there this time.
No, it was the author.
Right? Who was at San Diego Comic-Con? If you guys recall, those of you that have been listening for a while, we were there at Ready Player One at Comic-Con, but my recorder was not because it was stolen by some fucking bastard.
I wasn't there for that one.
That's true, you weren't.
No.
You were at the Impractical Jokers press day or whatever you were doing there.
That's right.
At least you got some recording out of that. But yeah, anyway, so Spielberg was there at the big event. This one he was not there, but we did have the screenwriter Zach Penn and the book author. Crap. I'm a terrible person. What's his name? Here, vamp for a minute. Talk about
McLean. No.
Oh, wait. I do not have to Google it. I just remembered it.
Yes.
Ernest Cline.
I was close.
Yeah, except you made him Scottish.
Well, I was still close.
Worse crimes have been done.
I kept seeing the CL in my mind about
Ernest Cline. So they were there as well as, the villain who, I don't want to talk about the story because you haven't read the book.
I have not read the book.
You've got a week till the movie comes out.
Maybe I'll read it this week.
Oh yeah. You do have some time. So this would be a good time to do it. Anyway, so we had the villain and then the High Five, which is the main 5 characters of the movie. We have our hero, Wade, who is known as Parzival inside the Oasis, which is the virtual world of Ready Player One, and then 4 other people that he meets along the way. And again, I don't really want to say much about them. It's a panel with all these guys, and I thought it was really fun.
It was fun. Got me excited about the movie.
Were you not excited about the movie before?
Not as much, no.
You haven't read the book. That's
right.
Why. Yeah.
I had no context.
But since this movie is coming out in like 3 or 4 days, I figured we should probably put this panel up first. We've got some more stuff coming out of WonderCon, Fear the Walking Dead, a really awesome panel on
anti-bullying?
Anti-bullying, but
be
more.
Kind.
Some of it wasn't really bullying. Some of it was
how to be kind.
Yeah, being kind, or just, I don't know, a little bit bigger picture issues, I think. But an awesome set of talks. Yeah, so stay tuned for that stuff. That's coming. But for today, Ready Player One, there's really no spoilers about the movie in here. It's just them talking about the making of it. There's audience Q&A, and it just sounds like it's going to be a blast.
It looks like a great movie.
Yep. So I'm going to go put this all together. You can go to sleep.
Yay!
Good night, babe.
Good night.
Love you.
Love you.
And we love you guys too.
I live here in Columbus, Ohio. In 2045, Columbus is the fastest growing city on Earth. But it sure doesn't seem like it when you live in the stacks.
There's a dystopian society and the fabric of our economy is crumbling. It's a good time to escape. So virtual reality will be a super drug.
They called our generation the missing millions. Missing not because we went anywhere. There's nowhere left to go. nowhere except the oasis.
I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, it results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.
What'd you think of that footage, huh? Pretty cool? Okay, how many of you felt the feels with that opening montage of Steven Spielberg movies? Whoa. Okay, who wants to meet the cast of Ready Player One? Who plays Daito? Please welcome Morisaki. Who plays Zhao? From Rogue One to Ready Player One, he is Nolan Sorrento, Ben Mendelsohn. She plays Helen, Lena Waithe. Samantha, played by Olivia Cooke. Wade Watts, Tye Sheridan. The screenwriter of Ready Player One, Penn. And the author of the New York Times bestseller, Ready Player One. Please give it up for Ernest, Cline. Now, okay, you are all going to see this movie next week, Thursday night, May 28th. You're going to read reviews, you're going to hear people talking about it on social media everywhere, but there's only one review that really does matter for Ready Player One. Ernest Cline, that is yours. What did you think of the film?
I'm biased, but it's my favorite Steven Spielberg movie ever.
Now, okay, so how much, when you were writing the book, back to when you were sitting in front of your computer, your laptop, whatever floats your boat, maybe you're still writing from a notepad, how much did Steven Spielberg really inspire you with the genesis of the story?
Well, a huge amount. I grew up watching his movies, and Close Encounters was life-changing, and then a few years later, Raiders of the Lost Ark, also life-changing for me. E.T., I was the same age that Elliot was when that movie came out, so that became my favorite movie of all time. Like I say in that video, his work is kind of built into my DNA. And when I was writing Ready Player One, he was definitely a big inspiration. Just the kind of overall tone of the Amblin movie that I wanted to capture of a kid, or a group of kids in kind of downtrodden circumstances who get carried off on a fantastic adventure. That was the kind of story like The Goonies or E.T. That I was trying to capture. And Tye's character Wade Watts, he carries a Grail diary through the whole book, to collect his clues from the treasure hunt. He drives a DeLorean from Back in the Future, so it would have been a different book if it wasn't for Steven and his films.
It's interesting. You think about the around 32 movies that Spielberg directed, and then there are the movies that he produced, like you mentioned, like The Goonies, Gremlins, Back to the Future, Poltergeist. It's really, really astounding. So, being such a massive fan, what was the first conversation that you had with him about directing this movie?
Well, it was one of the biggest days of my life, and I think that's the thing when anyone goes to meet Steven. He's probably used to this because for the past 30 years, whenever someone comes to meet him for the first time, they just had a haircut and their wardrobe is overthought and they're kind of trembling, so that was how I felt when I went to meet him. I've since said, it felt like being Charlie Bucket, with his golden ticket, like standing outside the gates of the chocolate factory. And when you go in, like you pass this wishing well that's featured in Back to the Future as you go in, and then there's a velociraptor inside. It's like going into this magical place like Skywalker Ranch, a place where I had imagined my whole life, and it was, all these dreams from my childhood were made in this place. So it was amazing, and he's so good at setting you at ease, and because so many people are probably freaking out when they meet him. He's really good at letting you know he's just a person, and once we started to talk about movies, then I calmed down and I was able to communicate with him. One of the first things that we talked about was the race scene and how we were going to include the DeLorean time machine, which was my cue to bring out my DeLorean glove box lid that I brought with me to Amblin so he would autograph it for me. So I still found moments to geek out, even though we were getting to collaborate.
Embrace it, be a fan.
I can't help it.
Zach Penn is the screenwriter of movies like X2, The Incredible Hulk, Avengers. Now these being based on Marvel superheroes, comic books, Ready Player One's a lot more dense than a 32-page comic. What kind of collaborations did you have in capturing the spirit of the book, Ready Player One?
Well, Ernie and I actually met before I started writing. I did this documentary about digging up the E.T. video games in the desert called Atari Game Over.
That's a great movie.
And Ernie was in the movie. In fact, he was kind of the star of the movie. My producers kept saying, more Ernie, more Ernie. It was a documentary, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but whatever. From the very beginning, even before I started writing, I was already talking to Ernie about, here's what I'm thinking, and how are we going to deal with this? And Ernie even said to me, we got to change the challenges. We need something that's more cinematic. How about a race? So that makes it a lot easier, and in general, it makes it a lot easier to write when the author and the creator of the universe and then the director, who is kind of the creator of our universe, are all kind of working together instead of at odds, which I hate to say it is often how other movies are made in Hollywood. It's a lot easier to adapt, because it's like, I have the author right here, and he approves of this moment that we created. So
it was just, from my end, it was the best collaboration experience in my life. Because first working with Zach was like getting to work with one of my friends and somebody who had helped inspire me when I was writing Ready Player One. Zach wrote Last Action Hero, which helped inspire the footsteps in my book. It's not the Last Action Hero.
I was just a kid when I wrote it when
he was just starting out. But that whole idea of going into one of your favorite movies and using your knowledge of the movie genre to navigate and survive, he was one of the people who helped inspire that. So that was really cool for me to get to work with him. And somebody who I'd become friends with, and then once Steven came on board, then it was like two friends getting to work with one of their heroes. It was a great experience.
Well, I think it's safe to say that everyone on this panel, in one way or another, we've all been inspired by different Spielberg movies over the years. Whether you're a little older like me, so it's Jaws and Close Encounters, or maybe if you're younger, it might be like Jurassic Park or Minority Report. But I just want to go down the line because we are at Wondercon and it's all about being a fan. So Tye, let's start with you. What is your favorite Spielberg movie? And just go right down the line. Favorite Spielberg movie?
Favorite Spielberg movie of all time has got to be E.T.
Oh, yeah.
Olivia?
Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom.
Ooh, Temple of Doom! Underrated. Okay, Helen.
I could be cliche and say The Color Purple, which is one of my favorite movies, but I'm gonna go with Jurassic Park.
Ben?
Indiana Jones.
Which one?
The first one, Daddy.
Raiders. Okay. Next, yes.
The Adventures of Tintin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for me, Catch Me If You Can.
Wow.
Woo! Good. All right. How about you, Ben?
Thank you. Sorry?
Oh, okay. Right at the end.
Here's my translator.
Okay.
He can still have a favorite Spielberg movie.
But I like Jurassic Park.
There we go.
That's my translator.
Okay, so now, tell me about, let's start back with you, Wynn, and your interpreter. Okay,
Yes.
so the first time you met Steven Spielberg. What was that like?
I met him in a second audition in LA, and I was so nervous, and he was so warm, and I felt like he was like my grandpa.
A young, handsome grandpa.
Yeah, I mean, every morning he hugs us. So currently we know each other in Japan. So that was my first time to hug the director, you know. Yeah.
Oh, I met him when we were filming our mocap. I was in my tight mocap suit, and we were standing around on set, and then he just walks in. I'm like, oh God, is that Steven Spielberg? And then Wynn gives me like this little nod. I'm like, okay, got it. Okay, I can do this.
Ben, you. By the way, Darkest Hour, fantastic. Congrats to your co-star Gary Oldman, Oscar winner. But you go from Road One to Ready Player One. Yes.
The first time I met Steven was at a little French restaurant. It was just the two of us. He had a hard time looking at me for a long time. You know, he was shy.
He was starstruck.
I don't want to...
Yeah, so handsome.
I know his bloodline, and I know he was very affected by that on a lot of levels. And, eventually he sort of relaxed enough to talk, and then, he made his offer. And I said, Steven, I'll think about it, mate. I'll think about it. I'll get back to you on that. And then, we talked over a long time. I had a lot of things that I wanted to clear up before I would sign on.
Yeah.
And, I'm talking a little bit of yang, but, it was
Well, for me and for Olivia, for Tye, when you're working, you meet Spielberg, and it's, God, Steven Spielberg, but then you really start working with him. So I wonder if you could each start reviewing the first scene that he directed you in. What was that like? And what was it, by the way?
First scene, I'll say this. I'll just say my character gets a clue, and the way she celebrates is through dance, or freestyle dance. So that was the first thing that I had to do for Mr. Spielberg, was show off my dancing moves. And I did that, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. But like Steven's so great. Like he obviously gives you very specific direction because he has a very clear vision of what his movies should look like and what he wants. But he's also cool about leaving space for you to kind of find your own thing in it, which is really nice. So yeah, that's the first thing he directed me.
Olivia.
The first scene he directed me in was with Mark Rylance as well, and we were in motion capture, and we're wearing very tight suits, and we've got dots all over our face, and the head cams on, and I was trying to do this very nuanced performance. I was trying to really impress, and Steven came up to me and said, you're going to have to be a bit bigger than that because I can't see what you're doing. And I was like, okay, Steven.
Sorry, Steven.
Because like Ernest said, you try to impress so much.
Yeah.
How about you, Tye?
The first day we worked together, it was actually during rehearsal, and because he doesn't like to do rehearsal, we were there 2 weeks before, kind of getting familiar with motion capture, and he shows up on the Friday before we're going to shoot on the Monday, and he tells everyone to go home, and he wants to shoot with me, and I'm like, oh no, I didn't know we were going to shoot today. And so he's like, yeah, I just want to capture you walking. I want you to do like the John Travolta walk from Saturday Night Fever. Okay, cool. So I'm just standing there across one end of the motion capture floor. He's on the other, and it's just me and him, and I'm waiting for him to call action, but he's not saying anything. And then he pulls out his phone, and he starts playing the song. He starts playing Staying Alive by the Beach. And then he starts walking towards me, he's nodding in his head, and he's just staring at me. And he goes, and action.
The movie like this, you've got the reality, you've got your avatars. So I guess really not only what are the challenges of playing, your real characters versus playing your avatars, but for a lot of people who may not really understand the actual process of performance capture, I was wondering if you could just take us through that. Let's start with you, Lena.
None of us had ever done it before, so we looked online, YouTube videos, behind the scenes footage of Avatar. If any of you have ever done that before, that's pretty much what it is. It's like we're in these suits with a lot of dots on them, and like she said, we have helmets on with cameras on them, capturing our facial expressions.
Different colored crotches.
Okay, that's true
as well.
I think mine was tangerine colored. And the thing is, it's like we have to make sure our body language matches our avatar. Because like for me, Aech is like a 6 foot tall, half man, half machine, like cross between.
Taller than 6 foot.
How tall is he? 8, 7 foot? Okay. You guys determine how tall.
By the way, Lena had a big pink ball on her head.
Yeah.
Like 2 feet taller than her.
So you guys would look up.
Yeah, when you're doing a scene with her, she says her line, you look over, you look at her face, and you're like, I'm supposed to look at the ball.
Yeah, Lena's getting so mad, and she's like,
look up. Look at my torso. You're looking at my mechanical torso. That's about how tall I am. But the thing is, like, Aech has really big arms and a mechanical torso, so I have to make sure my movements reflect that. And then when the going gets tough and there's a bit of a war, I have to become Iron Giant, which is phenomenal. But the thing is, Iron Giant is all iron, and he's a giant, and I'm gonna walk differently and run differently and fall differently. So we had amazing acting coaches on set to help us with body language, and obviously Steven was a wonderful guy, so that way all the characters felt similar, but also a little different when you see them.
I remember watching, Lena, you rehearse your Iron Giant walk, and what was crazy about it is you could see on the screen, because there's a guy helping you, so there were 2 Iron Giants, walking around like Iron Giants, and like Lena slowly walking exactly like the Iron Giant. You actually could watch it in the movie. You could see what the set looked like, what the virtual set would look like as they were doing it. So
yeah,
it was pretty trippy just sitting there.
It's 2 Iron Giants just walking around, chilling. It's pretty cool.
We also had Gavin and Abby, and they helped us develop our avatar movements and make it different from our real life people.
Yeah. Well, what were some of the other things that you're making a movie like this, like especially for William and Philip?
Yes.
Like, when was the first time you were really blown away by the scope of the movie that you were working on? The first thing that really made you just go, wow.
The craft services.
Yeah.
Right, this is my first time in Hollywood movie. I mean, the sets are really cool, and Steven was very nice. He made us feel good, comfortable, and but I chose craft services because absolutely we have craft services in Japan, but like this big. So in the Hollywood, like they had a track. So I was like, oh, this is Hollywood. Oh yeah.
It was bigger than our hotel room.
Yes.
A lot of snacks.
Yeah, Ben Mendelsohn. I gotta ask. Okay, you're awesome in Rogue One. You're awesome. Ready Player One. First of all, what is it with you in ones? And second, the real question is, how much do you love playing sort of the villain, the bad guy? Why is it more fun to play the bad guy?
The pay is better. When you're playing a bad guy, let's cut through it a bit. The pay is just so much better. If you're willing to take on the responsibility of being the bad guy, you just get paid so much more. It's incredible. That's the big secret. What was the first question you asked? It got lost in the racetrack kind of like coming around the corner is, I don't know.
Oh, it's just like, what is it with you in ones? Yeah, but that was not really the question.
Still didn't.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm done.
Olivia. So, 2015 at the Sundance Film Festival, I saw a really touching movie, wonderful movie called Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Then, a couple years later, this year at Sundance, I saw a movie called Thoroughbreds. So, how do you go from independent films like Me and Earl and Thoroughbreds to a big, epic film like Ready Player One? What were the challenges and what was exciting about it?
Lots of campaigning, lots of auditions, lots of convincing people that you're worth it, I think as long as the passion's there, it doesn't really. I mean, the budget's massive, and craft service is a lot bigger. But I think if the passion's there, then it doesn't really make a difference how big or small the film is, because collectively everyone wants to be involved and do the best job possible.
So, Tye, any kind of movie, whether it's an independent film or just a straightforward drama, or even a special effects driven epic like this one, when you have your lead actors, you gotta have the right chemistry, they gotta flow, they gotta be good together. So tell me about the first time that you and Olivia knew that you really had the right sort of chemistry to really sell the character driven story of this movie.
Well, I guess we had it because Stephen cast us after seeing us in a room together. But we actually spent all the high fives, what they're called in the movie, 5 characters. We spent 2 weeks rehearsing together and talking about this crazy experience that now Ernest Spielberg film. So we got really tight and close over that time. Olivia and I had to rehearse this dance. We recreated this kind of famous dance from a movie, and so we spent 2 weeks rehearsing that, and I think that's because of that, we got incredibly close, not only emotionally but also physically.
All right, okay.
Just while we were dancing.
I'm going to take some questions from the audience in a few minutes. So there's a microphone right in the back here. So make sure you line up and get your questions ready. But I do want to ask Zach and Ernest, the book is, in some ways, is a love letter to so many of these movies that Spielberg produced and directed. The montage that we saw is heavily referenced throughout the book, but the movie made some interesting changes with that regard. So I want to ask both of you, what was the reasoning behind some of those changes, especially with regards to Spielberg's movies?
That was all Steven.
Yeah, well, I mean, taking Stephen's, that was one thing he made clear at the beginning. He didn't want to directly reference himself too much or pay homage to his own work, which is understandable. And, when people ask about Steven Spielberg references in the movie, I say, well, it's a whole brand new Steven Spielberg movie, so it's all technically Steven Spielberg reference. But there are references to Jurassic Park and Back to the Future, and we kind of we would sneak things in, even though if he would catch them, then he would remove them, but he didn't catch all of them. So there's still lots of references to his movie. But as far as the changes, the actual set pieces being changed, that was something that started way back when I first started writing my drafts of the screenplay, which was back before the book was even published. But I could tell, the whole time I was writing Ready Player One, I assumed it could never be a movie. That was freeing to me while I was writing it. But I knew that to reproduce all of the stuff in the story and to get clearance, for everything would be impossible. The one example, and then when Warner Brothers bought the film rights, then I was forced to think of it, the possibility of it becoming a movie, and I knew that there would have to be a lot of changes, not just because of the licensing, but also because a lot of the stuff in the book that works in the novel would not work in a movie. Like having somebody play a perfect game of Pac-Man for 6 hours works in the book, but that would stop a movie dead. So what we wanted to do was kind of recreate the challenges in the book and keep the spirit of what's in the novel, but make things more cinematic and more engaging and more kind of propulsive. So that was an ongoing process, even through my drafts, and then definitely when Zach and then Stephen came on board. It was always making things more cinematic, but still paying tribute to the spirit of the book.
But also, when we had to redo, Ernie and I had to redo a bunch of the clues, obviously, to fit what was there. And we kept trying to think of, I remember doing a brainstorming session where we were trying to think of references to movies from the 80s, and every time we'd come up with something, it's like, oh, geez, he produced that. And, oh, he directed that. Pretty much every treasure thing that comes to your mind is from an Indiana Jones movie. And at a certain point, I remember saying to him, "You're really ruining this movie by having made all these great movies. You're making it so hard for us. You pretty much cover everything." So it did make it actually a lot more difficult to come up with good references and dodge Steven's giant shadow.
So let's take the first question. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Luis Gutierrez. Mr. Ernest, I don't know if you remember, but I actually spoke to you at San Diego Comic-Con this past year.
Oh, hey man, good to see you again.
Likewise. So my question is to the cast. What was the hardest part of immersing yourself into this world? Did you find any challenges from other movies? And Lena, I love your Masters in Editing.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Okay, why don't you start?
All right, yeah, I'll start. Challenge is immersing ourselves in the film. That's the question. You asked a great question earlier about the first time you realized how epic the scale of the movie was, and actually for me it wasn't until we finished motion capture, because we shot motion capture. All the stuff that happens inside of the Oasis came first in our production schedule, and that came with challenges in itself. But we had this great tool where ILM and Digital Domain had spent time creating these environments that we would be walking around in the final version of the film, and we could put on a VR headset and they were spatially tracking so that we had walked around the volume and we could get a sense of those environments and have a three-dimensional perspective on those. So that was super, super helpful to immerse ourselves in the film. But then, you have to, when you're ready to perform, you have to take them off, obviously. And then the room is just blank again, so you're solely focusing on the other actor across from you, and which was fun. But it was so yeah. I guess that was the more challenging.
How about you, Olivia?
I think it's just the motion capture. I think it was just difficult because we'd never used that medium before, but we had 2 weeks where we could acclimatise to the motion capture and actually found it really freeing because you're void of any costume, any makeup, any hair, and so with that comes a sense of liberation and extra confidence, which was lovely as well.
I think you have no choice but to just sort of go into your own oasis when you're doing the motion capture part because there's nothing around you. Like we literally had our own visors on and we had to sort of use our imaginations because. And obviously Stephen was such a fearless leader and making sure we knew what was happening all around us and saying, this thing is coming at you, okay, now you're driving really fast, okay, now Kong is about to swing about to swing on the next building. So he was really great about being the maestro while we kind of just used every corner of our imagination so that way when we see the movie it looks like we're genuinely frightened of a T-Rex eating us alive while racing.
And I think it's actually keeping up with how fast Stephen is, and because he actually makes up the shots when he gets it. So the way he moves his camera and all that funky stuff that he does, you've got to be on point to sort of keep up with the maestro.
Sure. Yeah, I think it was the motion capture that was the hardest. The room was empty. All they had were screening assistant directors, tapes, and poles. Other than that, there's nothing. So we had to use our imagination for everything.
Yeah, for me, motion capture as well, and English. Yeah, but they taught me a lot of English, and they helped me. So they're so kind.
Learn from the best.
I have to ask. So. You're all making this movie, you're all working with Spielberg. Did he ever go, when we were doing Raiders of the Lost Ark, Harrison Ford did this, or when we were doing Jaws, the shark wouldn't do that, or, we're making Close Encounters and, Richard Drake, did he do that? Did he go there?
Every 5 minutes. You could just hang out with him and you hear an amazing story about him and Stanley Kubrick hanging out. I remember one specific moment. We were doing a scene with Mark Rylance. We're sitting in the bedroom and Stephen has his monitor and his little headset and he's just looking at me and we're waiting for something. And he goes, it's not the take that takes the time to take a take, it's the time between the take that takes the time to take a take. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I made that up on Jaws as we were waiting for these ghost stories.
We would always try to get him to tell the stories. I remember having lunch, I would bring up Jaws, and he's like, do you want to hear how bad it was on Jaws? I'm like, yes, please, tell me. And whenever you would just reference a movie sometimes, and you would have a connection. Like, you would mention Scarface, he's like, oh, I shot Second Unit on Scarface. Or you mentioned Blade Runner, I visited the set of Blade Runner. Of course you did.
Right, or, I used to... we were talking about motorcycles. He's like, oh yeah, me and Steve McQueen used to ride motorcycles out in the desert. I was like, okay, and he did.
That's what it's like having conversations with him.
And you got to with Ben. I mean, since he was so in awe of you.
Well, it's kind of like what happens in the Oasis stays in the Oasis, but he has stories.
Nice.
Yeah, he'd quiz you about Bloodline, is what I remember.
Yeah.
Next question.
Next question. What's your name?
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Hi. My question is, how does the director help the cast perform on studio sets, whether motion capture or not, for any action scenes before the CG is in?
That's a great question.
I know that Steven mentioned that he recommended the movie His Girl Friday to these guys because the dialogue is so fast. He would give you homework to do sometimes.
Yeah, and whether you're shooting in motion capture or you're shooting in live action, Steven is incredibly engaging. I don't think I've ever worked with a director who was that into it, and he's such a child, in a great way. He's feels like just like a film nerd, and and you're that guy too, and so it's just to have that. I think that's why you see such intimate relationships in his movies and camaraderie amongst young characters, not only young characters but all characters.
In watching the question? Yeah. I was going to say, watching from behind the camera, my favorite thing watching Steven direct is when one of these guys would do a take that made him happy. He would just do a little dance, like a little victory dance. You could tell he's so invested in getting his story, and I just wanted to share that.
Next question. What's your name?
Hi, my name's Russell. Last year, I was in the middle of reading Ready Player One, and I saw on IMDb that Lena was casted and Olivia was casted, and I was so delighted. But it was spoiled for me because you're not supposed to know what these characters look like. And so for Ernie and Zach, what was your approach in revealing the cast or what the characters were supposed to look like?
What were you doing on IMDb, dude, when you're in the middle of reading the book? That's your own fault. If you go out looking for spoilers, you're going to find spoilers.
Here's the thing: if you've read the book, you know what's going to happen. But there's also the reality of, you have these incredible actors. It's different in a novel where it's all being told, from Wade's perspective. But when you have these incredible actors, the idea of not having them on screen for the entire movie it's not what you want to do. So you have to, we had to pace out the reveals and choose, the best place to reveal each character. But look, no matter what, we would have had to cast people, and there's no way it would have gotten out who the cast was. So you just kind of, unlike with the book, you just have to face the fact that that's what's going to happen, and not just try for the surprise, but try for the, the emotional core. I mean, I don't think the point of what Ernie wrote is, oh look, I'm going to shock you. The point is, these characters aren't revealed for a reason in the book, and as long as you keep that reason, you're not doing a disservice to the story.
Yeah, no, and it's part of the, just part of the process of the film adaptation getting made of a popular book, and I think that's why a lot of people rush to read the book before the movie comes out, so they can have their own experience with the story without, that plays out in their mind's eye. But and we had, early on in the marketing, we tried to keep secrets about the casting, but it just became clear.
We didn't know Lena was going to become literally have the most incredible year ever that this ever had. We didn't know that it was going to be impossible to keep a secret about her. So thanks.
Sorry.
Go win an Emmy.
I apologize. It's still fun when you see us pop up in the movie, though. I promise. Still a good time.
Yeah. How excited are you by everything just sort of coming coming for you this year? Wow.
Oh man, I mean, I'm just like, I'm like in my own little oasis, just enjoying it, you know what I mean? No, it's phenomenal, and I think to be in a movie like this is really such a highlight of my career, and just to be a part of the Spielberg legacy of libraries, I like to call them, I think is it's just a huge honor, I think, for all of us.
This is also Lena's first film ever.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
I didn't know.
Bravo.
I will also offer that it's a little disconcerting when you find out one of the actors cast in your movie is a better writer than you are.
No, not at all. Ernie's book really blew me away and made me want to be a better writer. Truly.
If you guys have not seen Lena's Emmy Award-winning episode of Master of None, it's like the best episode of television.
You can watch me come out of the closet as many times as you like.
Good, Johnny. What's your name? Next question.
Hi, I'm Alejandro Ozai. A question mostly for Ernest Cline. Looking back when you were writing the book, is there any 80s reference that you wish you could have included? Also, I own a first edition and first print of your book. I would love to get...
We'd love to get it signed. Yeah.
Well, I just want to know where I can find out about your appearances so I can get it eventually signed.
Yeah, just on my website. Yeah. And there's also well, it's first edition. Yeah, you'll have to find me, dude. I'm usually in Austin, Texas, but I'll be around. But thank you. And what was your question?
Was there any
any 80s references? Yeah, I never made a list of 80s references when I was working on the book except when I was working out the puzzles, but most of the references that kind of happened in passing in the story, I was just trying to include them organically as I was writing, the way that you do when you're in a geeky conversation with one of your friends. You make a reference to a Monty Python movie or whatever, just as it occurs to you, and that was what I was trying to do when I was writing. So I didn't, but everything that's in the novel is something from my life. I wouldn't make a list of things. Oh, I gotta squeeze this in. So it's all. But it's amazing to me that I, the things that I managed to leave out. I remember somebody sharing with me. He's like, a friend of mine, Mark Frankfelder, he gave the book to David Byrne from the Talking Heads, and he's like, oh, David really enjoyed it, and I'm like, oh my God, I did not mention the Talking Heads once in this entire book about the 80s. How did I, but it's a long decade, 10 whole years. So a lot of stuff to squeeze in.
Next question, what is your name?
Hi, my name is Kylie. My question is, what is your favorite video game?
I will offer mine is because it helped inspire this novel is the Atari 2600 game Adventure, which is the very first video game Easter egg in it. Zach and I both found that Easter egg when we were kids, separate of each other, but that moment of finding this thing hidden by the creator of this little tiny virtual world had a profound effect on me and ended up inspiring this book and this movie.
Yeah, normally I say adventure, but I think Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
I would say FIFA because not only do I love FIFA, but we also play FIFA every day after lunch. We win and fill up.
Olivia.
This is very unpopular, but I don't play a lot of video games, so I'll have to say Sims, because I'm a pervert and I want it to make me go woo-woo.
All right, Lena, you got it.
I would be a little old school, because I used to have a Sega Genesis back in the day, and and I used to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Nice! Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog and the cartoon. But yeah, that was my jam.
I'm gonna go with Defender.
Yeah, that's a good one. And he's good. He's quite good at Defender. Gotta give him props on that.
How about you, Phil?
NBA 2K18.
Wow.
Infinite Flight. It's a flight simulator.
And they have great craft services on that game.
There's not a lot of Infinite Flight cosplay here.
Next question, what's your name?
Lana. So my question is, what's the funniest thing that happened on set while filming?
Great question.
Well, I gotta take this one. George Lucas showing up and giving Steven an incredibly hard time about shooting digital, which he would never do. And I was the only one sitting in Video Village at one point, and George Lucas comes in with his little daughter, and he's showing her around the set, but he's also saying, see, another digital camera, another digital camera. And I'm just sitting there, and then George, literally, Steven walks over, and George lays into him saying, remember you said no digital camera, what's happening now? And Steven just starts laughing and says, George, I've used so many digital, you're still giving me a hard time about this, it's been years. But just watching the two of them, it was literally like watching two like 10-year-old friends, like, all right, I told you you were going to use that. That's my best story ever.
Who else has a good...
I know that I was not there when this happened, but I know that Tom Cruise also showed up.
Oh,
and just freaked everybody out.
I missed him. I'm pissed.
I mean, it wasn't horrendous. He's very lovely,
Yeah,
but that was the most embarrassing.
You got nervous.
Do you remember, Ben?
I do.
Yeah, that was there.
Why?
So you get word that Tom Cruise is going to visit set, and I'm like, I'm not meeting him. It's too embarrassing. We're in our motion capture gear. I'm so sweaty. It's just there's all these celebrity guests popping in. It's already nerve-wracking enough shooting with Steven. And so then you see Tom walk across the volume, and literally sink in my chair. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And then I hear Steven going, Olivia, come and meet my good friend Tom Cruise. And I just go, oh, standard. And then we walk over, and the people that I'm with run to the other end to see this interaction. I blacked out, don't remember. But apparently I bowed like a servant. And just went, oh, hi, nice to meet you. So embarrassing.
Wow. That was the story I was going to tell. I'm glad. I was pissed off. But I probably bowed too.
We have time for one more question, and yours. What's your name?
No pressure.
Hi, my name is Don. Holliday's first console in the book was the Atari 2600. I was wondering, what was your guys' first console?
Atari 2600. Yeah.
I'm a few years older than Ernie, so Pong. I got the original Pong.
I got a GameCube for Christmas.
I thought you were going to say Xbox One. He's only 8 years old.
We had a Nintendo 64, but I remember. The GameCube is the one I remember getting.
Does a Tamagotchi count?
Yeah, sure.
Yo, man, I still remember when my dad brought home the first generation Nintendo with the original square handles, original Mario Brothers game. Yeah, man, it's like OG. My sister and I spent many hours doing that, and my mom was like, I gotta get this thing out of my house.
Yeah, I had the Pong thing too, but it had a little gun thing too. You could remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, boom, boom, boom.
I had a gun thing.
The OGs. We are the OGs. We are the original.
Y'all were OG.
Original game.
Nintendo was OG. Blow on you had to blow on the video game to make it work. Replace. Remember the thing you got the gun that killed the ducks? Killed the ducks? It was like Saw. Marching for our lives. No guns. Even the fake ones.
Follow that.
So, here come Win. Halo.
Halo came out before Go.
I don't own a console. I use my PC for everything.
These kids, man. These kids today.
Don't listen to them,
no respect. Controller gets stuck.
What about you?
I was born in Myanmar, so I played Nintendo as well. Mario Brothers?
Yeah?
Yes.
Especially hearing all the discussion about Ready Player One, about Steven Spielberg's other movies, and seeing, again, the montage that started this presentation, you really get the scope of just how much Steven Steven Spielberg has contributed to not just the medium of film, but of entertainment. And he's been directing movies since the early 70s, and he is, in 2018, he's still challenging himself and entertaining his audiences. Watching a new Steven Spielberg movie is like buying a brand new Beatles album. And Ready Player One comes out this coming Thursday. See it and spread the word. Thank you so much, Wondercon Anaheim. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. It was awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it once again for our Warner Brothers Pictures presentation panel of Ready Player One and all our cast and creative team. And a special shout out to our guest host moderator from Access Hollywood, Mr. Scott Mance.